Hello, everyone, and welcome. We will get started in just a few minutes. Thank you for standing by. If you just join, hello, welcome. We're going to get started in just about 20 seconds. All right, let's get started. Thank you for joining and welcome, everyone. I am Kirti Joshi, and I will be your moderator and host for today's session. And I'm incredibly excited to have with us our guest speaker and a longtime Sonar customer, Andy Fischer, who is a software developer himself and who leads the DevOps Center of Excellence at Datev. Andy?
Hello, everybody. Nice to have everybody here in the webinar, and hope you're interested what I'm talking about.
Yes, it's really cool to have you. Andy will be joining me in this conversation to tell us more about his company and how they have leveraged clean coding best practices to help their development teams not only improve velocity and productivity, but also for Datev overall to accelerate their business growth. And so through this conversation, you're going to hear many facets, many nuggets, and strategies that Andy and team have used to improve the code health of hundreds of projects across their organization. All right, so before we deep dive, I'm just going to spend just a few seconds here going over some housekeeping items. This is a 30-minute session that includes Q&A. Throughout the session, feel free to leave your questions in the Q&A box in Zoom, not the chat box, but the Q&A box. We have our amazing panelists, Jeff Zapotashny and Lucas here, who will help answer any questions that come in through the Q&A box. This session is being recorded, and so within a few days, we will email you the recording of this presentation and this session. After the webinar, we will post a short webinar survey. Do tell us what you liked, what we should improve, and what topics you would like to see covered in future webinars. All right, so, and for our new listeners here today who may not know what we do, I'd like to give a very small introduction to the market problem that we see and solve today at Sonar. So as we all know that companies are actually going through, continue to go through this massive digital transformation, and software has become the center of all business operations. But if you think about it, at the core of all of this is the underlying code. And it's becoming actually even more and more evident that if that code is bad, the costs associated with that are enormous. They are really monumental. These costs not only continue to increase every year, but they keep accumulating as well. And today we've seen that those costs have kind of reached about trillions of dollars overall. And so at Sonar, our focus is on solving this big problem by arming your developers and development teams with a solution that helps them achieve and sustain a state of clean code. And what I really mean by that is helping them write and deliver code that is consistent, that is intentional, adaptable, and responsible, so that the code that they are developing is fit for the purpose that it was really designed for. So meaning making sure that it's easy to operate, it's easy to understand, easy to change, and is collectively owned by the teams that are developing it now, and also other teams that might take over that piece of code in the future. And so we at Sonar enable organizations to do this as part of their existing workflow, existing software development lifecycle, with the products that cleanly and deeply integrate into the DevOps workflow. All right, so with that said, I am going to hand it over to Andy. Andy, the floor is yours. So tell us a little bit about Datev and the type of products that you develop.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you very much for the invitation, Kirti. And instead of preparing a lot of slides to explain you what Datev is and what we are doing, I would like to show you a short video clip just to explain what we are really doing. And it's much more better than having a lot of slides. So Kirti, please start the video.
All right, we'll do that.
Who exactly is Datev? First things first, Datev is not normal. This company is not all about profit, maximizing returns, or shareholder value. Because Datev is a cooperative.
What?
Not that kind of cooperative, but rather an IT cooperative.
What on earth is that?
The IT cooperative Datev works on behalf of more than 40,000 members in tax consulting, auditing, and legal advice. We develop software and IT services for their firms, just like any other ordinary software company. Not this ordinary, more like this, or this. Unlike a regular IT developer, we create software for our members and their clients. For example, for him, her, or for them. Her, them, and for them, too. Over 2.5 million companies in Germany benefit from Datev software in payroll and accounting because it offers possibilities that go far beyond the normal. Because Datev software connects all the important players in the economy into one ecosystem. Tax consultants with their clients, with public authorities, institutions, and with banks. All this business data comes together here, in the Datev cloud. And even that doesn't quite conform to the usual, because the Datev servers are not here, or here, but here. Cloud computing made in Germany. Also not normal, but highly sustainable. At Datev, advice also goes beyond the normal, because for our more than 8,500 employees, their focus is on the satisfaction of more than 40,000 members. Together, we take the pressure off companies, guarantee up-to-date information, and simplify lots of business processes. More advice, more software, more partnership. For us at Datev, that is normal.
Thank you, Kirti.
Very cool. That was a wonderful video.
Yes, it's just easier to explain. And some facts in addition, we have around about 1,200 software developers, and we are working on around about 250 different products. So that is, our business.
Yeah, and it's a very unique operating model, and very excited to hear that. So tell us a little bit about your software engineering background, and particularly your role at Datev.
Yes, I will do. My first contact with Datev was during the internship semester in 1987. That's quite a long time ago. And 1 year later, I started as a software engineer at Datev. In the beginning, writing software in C. And very early, due to an expensive error, I developed a fable for good code quality. And in those times, we didn't have any tools just to ensure code quality. Even debugging was quite a hard job in the beginning on MS-DOS. If somebody knows this, there wasn't a debugger available at the beginning. And all over the years, I was writing software in the beginning in C, C++, later on in Visual Basic and C#, and always did some basis software frameworks. And one of these frameworks, the biggest framework we are still using to run our on-premise product, was written in C#. And so I got in contact with those static code analysis tools. And the first one I was able to know was FXCOP. I think somebody who's writing C# software remembers these tools. And later on, there was ReSharper. And these tools were always helpful. And because we were developing a basis framework for all the products, we were asked to define the rule sets and to establish a type of governance to ensure a good code quality. And our approach in these times was just to enforce a zero issue policy, to say, well, there should not be any issue in FX CoE. So we had this policy, and we thought everybody was obeying because we didn't experience any issue in the build process. So we said, oh, fine, we did it. But then when we take a look at the source code, we could find out that the people suppressed the issues. They just didn't spend efforts on making the code better. They just spent a lot of time in cheating the system.
I see.
So just suppress the issue raising of FX CoE. So then we discovered ReSharper, and we thought that would be a better tool to monitor and that the people are suppressing. But the same happened. Long story short, it was just the same result. The people just suppressed the issues. And then we discovered SonarQube. And at the beginning, when we investigate this tool, we thought that is a good idea because it's a server and we can forbid administration to everybody. So we as a governance unit, we just can control that everybody is making clean code. And then we expected that, or we could see that SonarQube was raising the same issues, of course. And we could see the suppressions for FX CoE in the source code and the suppressions for ReSharper in the source code. And that was the first time where I thought, I think these policy, these rules will not help to make or to get a better source code. They will just force the people to spend time in cheating the system. And at that time, I was asked to develop a rule set for COBOL. And as I mentioned before, I wrote software in C, C++, and Visual Basic and everything else, but I never ever written a single line of code in COBOL. And I feel very uncomfortable to define a rule set for a programming language which I didn't know. And over the Christmas holidays, I would sit down and thought, how can I solve that problem? I don't want to govern a rule set for that language. And a couple of years before that, I founded an in-house community, the software craft community at Datev. And I thought, why do we not give the process in the community? And so I thought about a process, and this process was I activated every rule in the beginning, even the contradictory ones, just to enforce the people to get engaged in this rule process. And then after that, I said, well, everybody could claim for a rule change, opening an issue in our GitLab. And then, but there was only one rule, because you can only raise or claim for a rule change if there is a single issue, because just to prevent academical discussions about rules, they will never raise an issue. We said there must be one issue raised, and then we can discuss about this rule. And there was a 2 weeks discussion in the GitLab issue, and after that there's an online voting. And after the voting, we as the SonarQube administrators, we just implement the result without any ifs or buts. And when I showed this process to a manager, he said to me, well, Andy, you will see. The community will deactivate every single rule, and SonarQube will be of no help in the future. And just the opposite occurred. Implementing this process raised or increased the engagement of the people. And even after a couple of months, somebody was coming up to me and he said, well, we have this good process for the rules, but we wanted to have a harder quality gate. This quality gate we call Datev quality gate. This is too weak for us. Can we use the process to get a harder quality gate? And say, well, do that, of course. And we just get a Datev Gold quality gate. some weeks later, somebody came, not enough for us. We wanted to have it more harder. And we get it out of Platinum quality gate. And at the end, there was a team coming up and said, we wanted to have the maximum challenge. We wanted to have the hardest quality gate available. And they invented a Datev insane quality gate. So this is a good sign for getting a community engaged in this process, and and the people understand that the quality, what is the reason using a static code analysis, and what is the benefit of code quality.
Very cool. That's really cool to hear. Sonar Source, that's how we started, right? Our roots are in the open source, and the community is, why we are here today. And the community is really pivotal to our success as well. So I can completely understand the power of sourcing and the power of community. Really cool to hear. So our audience, I think, would be interested in knowing what caused you to actually, so you covered some part of it, but what caused you to investigate Sonar? And so what were some of the challenges, that prevented you from achieving your goals prior to, embarking on this clean code journey?
The first thing I mentioned already was just we hope that we could control everything because it is a server software. But at the second side, I saw that is the first chance to get one tool for all the languages we are using at Datev. Because prior to that, we have in every different language, we have different tools for ensuring code quality or to ensuring issue-free software. And so that was a good chance to get the people used to one quality tool, and even if they're changing the technology stack later on. And the third thing was that we hoped that we could get a way or a process to have those people working on legacy software. I mean, there's a lot of software running for a couple of years and it's doing a good job for our customers. But when you start using a static source code analysis, then you will get a tremendous number of issues at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so we, prior to, you always say as Sonar, you say that we have a clean code strategy for working on these legacy software. And we also said to the people, well, just use the first analysis as a baseline and then ensure that you're not getting more issues. Even if this number is quite high, just always take a look at the new code. And we also said it at times where the new code analysis wasn't available in SonarQube. It's available for a couple of years now, and it helps a lot because this is the problem that we are facing. Because if you want to get people engaged or look at the code quality when they are running legacy software, it's hard for them because you don't feel good in the beginning if you have a source code basis of, let's say, 1 or 2 million lines of code and you get hundreds and thousands of issues. You will not find the real ones, so the ones you should build out at the beginning. So that is the problem to get such a software into the company.
Yeah. And we kind of, truly believe in that, is that instead of getting inundated with, everything to fix, let's kind of help developers do a good job at the code that they are writing today. And once they do that, progressively things will become better because they're going to touch, old code, make new changes to it. And so we even kind of use this ourselves, and we've kind of finessed this over time, and we fine-tuned it for all of our customers overall. So that's great to hear.
Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time just to make all those old stuff, and sometimes if you build out or you correct old issues, maybe you do something bad to your source code.
Yep.
So
exactly.
it's running for years. So why should you change it just because of code quality?
Yep. And yeah, with this clean as you code methodology, as we kind of call it, you can help this, you can make this possible very easily. So Andy, a few weeks when we kind of chatted a little bit more, you mentioned that, Datev is offering software in 3 technology stacks, even starting with, old school mainframe to the more modern, cloud native applications. So when you started on this, journey to develop cloud native apps, what were some of the challenges that you anticipated more on the quality security side of things, and how did you really mitigate those issues?
We are offering software in 3 technology stacks, mainframe, on-premise, and cloud native, not just because we want to. It's unfortunately, we have to. We started with mainframe software a long time ago, and then in the 1980s, where I started at Datev, we began writing on-premise software. And our customers need to have correct software up to date with the latest with the latest changes in tax law, and so we cannot stop writing software or inventing our software and writing it again in cloud native. So we have to keep and we have to maintain the software, and that makes it difficult for us, because we have to have teams that are still have the knowledge to run and change these programs on mainframe or on premise, and we have to have people that are writing the new software. And as you know, it's a big challenge. We are living in rough times, not only in software industry and everything else, but if you focus on software industry, it's hard to get a bunch of new talents just to make the software new, or write the software new again in cloud native, and the old ones maintain the old software. And so our challenge is to re-staff the teams and to ensure that the old software is still maintained, and to get the people to know the new technology stack and all those challenges you have there, meaning the security and everything else. Helpful tool is SonarQube, because it stays the same even in which technology, no matter which technology stack you're working in. And so that is our biggest challenge, because we are dealing with complex software. That is, the German tax system is, I think, the complicated one of the world, and we have hundreds and thousands of rules in these law, and for every rules there are dozens of exceptions. So that is not easy to implement, and so you have to have people with the knowledge of this system to write the software. But we have to have them in the old stack, and we have them in the new stack. And to prevent when they are coming to the new stack, I mean, when you have to learn new programming languages, new tools, and new environments where you have to develop your software, it's always you're not knowing all these traps on the mouse traps at the beginning that you have in the new technology stack. And so these tools are helpful. These static code analysis tools are helpful to help those people to move over to the new technology stack. And that is our problem we are facing, to get more people helping us, and to keep these old people up to date, and to keep the knowledge, and to be up to date to the tax law. So that is a complicated process for 250 products.
Oh, wow. Yeah, as things get modernized, infrastructure as code can be prone to the same kind of security issues that, source code is. And so you got to have it secure by design.
Yes,
and
of
so,
course.
yeah. I think last year we started, supporting infrastructure as code and, cloud native application development. And so we support all of the, big cloud providers and all their underlying technologies. So it's cool that you have a mix of the old legacy things on mainframe and moving everything now over to the cloud as well.
Yes.
All right. So Another question that I had is that as you are the driver for the Center of Excellence for the organization, so what strategies have you successfully used to keep the code base, quality of the code base top of mind for all your development teams? Typically today they deal with, organizations deal with managing the technical debt. And so what has your kind of approach and strategy been overall?
I think the best strategy was to engage the software developers in these process of defining SonarQube rules, because this led the teams to face the challenge to make their source code better and to talk about that, because they defined the rule set together with all the others developers, and then after that they wanted to tell everybody, hey, we defined this rule set together with you, and our software is now really clean, and they are talking about that. And that is the thing that you have to enforce, to get the people on the stage showing the strategies they made in their software, because this can help other teams facing the same problems. I mean, it's not rocket science what we're doing. It's a complex system of rules that has to be implemented in software, but it's not rocket science. We don't fly to the moon. Even sometimes it feels so if you're doing your tax declaration. But so this is very helpful when the teams are talking about their challenges and when they are talking about their the things they learned on this process. So this helps other teams, and this keeps the topic code quality in mind. And you should always, in addition to that, you should always say that this is a company value. You have to ensure that people understand that good software is not just a thing that you want to have. So it helps you to run better software, to get faster invention of your tools and the implementation of all those changes in the tax system, in the tax law. And so this is the thing that you have to get in mind of the people. And if you, in addition, let them make mistakes and learn from that, that's the best thing you can do. And that was our strategy to engage the people and to bring successful teams on stage, just to show what they have done. And this keeps it in mind, and not when you're just saying, well, we have no zero issue. That's not a good advice.
Yeah. And we just have a few more minutes, so I have one last question for you. So as you have implemented these clean code practices in your organization, what positive impact are you seeing? And what can other organizations that embark on the same journey on kind of improving their code base expect to see?
I think implementing clean code practices would just result in the common expectations. You would get a better code basis, of course. If you're not, then there's something wrong. You get more completed tasks, of course, and less time to market for new features. But achieving this high-level advantages is like breaking down silos in software department. It requires some efforts in accompanying actions. And you have to ensure that aiming a good quality is a goal of every software developer. And they should understand why they should do that. And I think most of the software developers want to do that. They just wanted to be treated like adults. And they know that they wanted to make good software. And so give them all the tools they need, give them the environment they need, and let them do their job. And then you will take advantage of the benefits of clean code at the end.
Yeah, very cool. I remember when we chatted a few weeks ago, you mentioned to me that with tools like this, developers are paid to learn, because we have, the right kind of guidance. So no matter, how experienced you are, you're always kind of learning, improving, and writing better software.
Yes, of course.
That really resonated. I really like that. All right. I know we are almost out of time. So I'm going to see if we have any questions here. If you have a question for Andy, please leave that in the Q&A box. And while you are doing that, I just wanted to briefly, if you're still standing by, just briefly talk about our upcoming webinar. Peter McKee, who is the head of our developer relations, is going to talk about how to master clean code in a September webinar. So just if you are interested, please go ahead and do register. All right, let's see if we have just any question here. There was one question from the audience, Andy. They want to know how big is your code base? How many lines of code do you have based off, all of your projects?
Yes, right now there are around about 4,000 projects in SonarQube, with around about 48 million lines of code. So, yeah, I can give you a short overview which languages we are using. Most of the software we are just, or most lines of codes we are just analyzing right now is in C#, it's TypeScript, it's JavaScript, it's HTML, of course, it's XML, it's Java in the back end. Yes, that's most JavaScript in the front end, TypeScript in the front end. So these are the most languages we are just analyzing right now.
All right. I think we are unfortunately over time, but it was really, really great to have you here. I really enjoyed my conversation with you, and I hope the audience did the same. If we didn't get to your questions, we will address them in the community in a few days. And of course, like I said before, we will send you a recording of this nice fireside chat.
Thank you for the invitation.
All right, it was wonderful to have you, and thank you for joining us. Have a good day, and we'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.